Welcome back. You're watching Network Africa. So there's no stopping China in fulfilling its promise of providing Africa with $60 billion in developmental projects, not even an economic slowdown. Chinese President Xi Jinping did announce the multi-billion-dollar development initiative during the last China-Africa summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. Our projects will cover agriculture, build roads, ports and railways, and cancel some debt. The government, however, says that while China's economy is shifting gears, all those major industries that have powered the explosion of Chinese infrastructure over the past 30 years will still have a place to invest, which is Africa. China's economy grew 6.9% in 2015, its slowest pace in a quarter of a century. Beijing's sharp drawdown of reserves to alleviate downward pressure on its yuan currency has unnerved global markets in recent months. Well, all of these figures and numbers are quite confusing. So to help us make sense of it all is Channels TV's business editor, Bosun Omofaye. He joins me right here in the studio. Bosun, great to see you. Now, I know you love numbers.
It's just a lot about numbers.
Well, it's more than numbers. But
yes.
Tell us really, is China's economy really that bad?
No, the Chinese economy is on a different trajectory. It's grown 10% plus over about a decade. Now we move to another level in which the global economy has serious challenges to deal with. So there's a bit of a revision in which the next growth will be a little bit lower than what it's been for the first 10 years. So the slowdown is there, but China is still a very big dragon to deal with. So it's not surprising, therefore, that China needs Africa.
Yeah, but at this time, China is promising $60 billion, and that's supposed to be over a period of 10 years, I believe. And a lot of countries are going to benefit from that: Nigeria, South Africa, all the major economies in Africa, and so on. So was that a smart move to make, despite what was going on back home?
There are two ways to look at it here. China needs resources from Africa. It also needs the huge emerging lower middle class emerging consumers markets in Africa. So China really needs to do that. China has spent decades on the outside looking at how the West, US and Europe, were sharing Africa from an economic point of view, taking cocoa, palm oil, crude oil, whatever. Now China is now in a world of its own, the world's number 2. So he's moving aggressively, using Africa as a basis for moving forward. Now, where would China look for growth that Beijing will be able to attach to the back end of his own economic program? You can't do that in Europe. You can't do that in the US. Latin America is way, way down. So Africa is where China sees growth opportunities and also see potentials that will help its own growth. So China is looking at 7.89% growth. Africa will be part of that success story for China.
This is not the first time, we've seen this sort of movement, from an outsider into Africa. I believe that Britain also did the same thing just a few years ago when they said Africa was a new bride and so on. At the end of the day, are we the better for it? Is this a win-win situation in the long run?
Well, African leaders and business leaders would have to make this a win-win situation for Africa. We need to get a better side of the deal. We shouldn't sell ourselves short. We should look at how we can also get technology transfers from China, and not just exporting our raw materials, resources to Beijing and the rest, but also make sure that we share part of this two-way relationship. Africa will need to be sure that, yes, at the end of the day, we don't just become a dumping ground again for cheap imports of textiles, drugs, whatever, and other technology products from China. So we definitely need to up the game. This is an opportunity for us to get used to Chinese technology. We've used to the Western world technology and what have you over the years. Now it's time for us to see the other side of the world.
And hopefully that will be more beneficial to us.
That will be more beneficial for us. We just hope that those who are signing the deals for Africa, and I got a pen here. If I'm the one signing the deal, I'm going to read the numbers very well and make sure that we get it. That's why I brought a pen, just in case you have a deal.
No problem. I guess you will be contacted when it's time. Thanks a lot, Bosun, for joining us. Now, Morocco has announced it will be cutting funding and personnel at the UN mission in the disputed territory of Western Sahara, following remarks made by UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon that he said were controversial. Mr. Ban had criticized Morocco for its response to the comments he made earlier this month when he visited the refugees from the area. Morocco had condemned the use of the word occupation to describe the situation in Western Sahara, which Morocco annexed in 1975. Mr. Ban said a mass rally held in Rabat on Sunday in protest against his comments had shown disrespect to him and the UN. Let's go further south in Africa now. 1 year after the xenophobic attacks in South Africa, the country's been a bit tense. This time, the violence has been sparked off by the alleged attack on a local who wanted to return chicken pieces he bought from a Somali shop owner. Shops have been looted in the area called Katlong, and a local has been shot dead in the fracas. A heavy police presence in the area is ensuring calm. Our correspondent Betty Dibia has the story.
1 year after the xenophobic attacks against other African nationals in South Africa is tense once again in the country, this time in Katlehong, East Rand, Johannesburg.
No more Somalia. Somalia must fall. No more Somalia.
It's said to have begun with the purchase of chicken pieces which turned out to be off from a Somali tuck shop owner. Victor Maposa was the buyer.
Lo mjito uthewe yena sana ungasijoyeli laphane awuphume waniphushela ngaphandle waniphushela ngaphandle nabuya nibuza ukuthi uniphushela ngaphandle ngene indawo lo munye wandonsa ngezinyawo sawela stepsini ukuwa kwami stepsini manje nasukuma nalo lo munye ubhoza wabo wanishaya ngebhodlela.
While Victor lives to tell his story, a fatality has been recorded. The friend of the victim, a local who lived here, says he was shot by a foreign national while returning from a pub. Shops have been looted and destroyed, and foreign nationals have fled the area. But some Ethiopians we spoke to blame it all on the Somalis.
The Somali guys, they kill the people, but we are from Ethiopia. But all of us are in danger. Now we are suffering, we don't have clothes, we don't have food, we don't have nothing.
I'm very sorry for that. We are not doing these things. The other person is doing, and because of other people, plenty people, you lose many things. You lose some of, even you get the shoot, some of you get injured.
While some of the local residents of the township call for all foreign nationals to leave, others call for dialogue.
Our correspondent Betty Dibia, trust will keep an eye on that story, and Betty will be giving us updates on the recent attacks. But as we end Network Africa, let's take a look at the question for the day. It's right up on your screen in just a few minutes. What do you think? Why do you think West Africa has become a major target for Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb? That's Akim for short. Why do you think West Africa has become a major target for Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb? But do send your responses to Network Africa at networkafrica@channelstv.com, or tweet at me at ctv_amara_ubani. Thanks for watching.